Good day, children. So, we move on to part 2 of the lesson, A Kingdom of Fools. Now, in the Kingdom of Fools, we saw that in the beginning that the king and the minister of that land were fools, and they were not at all intelligent, and therefore they wanted to be different from other kings or other kingdoms, and they turned day into night and night into day, and Guru and his disciple had visited the place, and they were shocked to find that even the tiniest creature on that land slept during day, and on night everyone was active. And the disciple, on seeing that everything just costed 1 rupee, the disciple was quite a man who loved to eat. So he told his guru that he is not going to move. The guru, who understood that it was a land full of it was the kingdom of fools, he said that it's going to be very dangerous. But the disciple was not ready to listen to the guru, and therefore the guru leaves and the disciple stays there. And because of eating a lot of ghee and rice and wheat and bananas, what happened? The disciple became like a bull, or he became so fat like a bull. And one day what happened? A thief had entered a house, and the wall of the house fell on the thief and killed him. And his brother takes him to the court. The thief's brother takes a case to the court and blames the merchant whose house, the wall of the house fell on his brother's head. And the merchant is summoned by the king, and the merchant says that it is not his fault, but rather it is the fault of the bricklayer who had actually laid the bricks for the wall and built the wall, and it was built during his father's time, and therefore it is the bricklayer who is at fault. Now the bricklayer is called upon, and the king was about to give him the order to execute him, when the bricklayer said that he was distracted by a dancing girl and it was her fault. Now moving on. You're right. The case deepens. We must look into it. It is not easy to judge such complicated cases. Let's get that dancer, wherever she is. The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. The king says that, he was quite satisfied with the bricklayer's explanation, and he was quite convinced by him, that he says that the case is very complicated. That is why he says that the case deepens, which means that the case is very complicated, and it can't be solved quite easily. So he ordered his messenger to get the dancer girl. Now the dancing girl is now a very old woman, and she came to the court trembling. Okay. Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him? Yes, my lord. I remember it very well. So you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling. You were young and you distracted him. So he built a bad wall. It has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. You have killed an innocent man. You will have to be punished. She thought for a minute and said, My lord, wait. I know now why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses, said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. That was when this bricklayer saw me. It's not my fault, my lord. It's the damned goldsmith's fault. It was the damned goldsmith's fault. The dancing girl, she enters the court trembling, and the king asks her if she was roaming around the lane while the bricklayer was constructing the wall, and her movement had distracted him. So she confirms with the king that she did move around, and so the king told that and therefore the king decided to execute her. And then she thinks for a minute, and she says that she was roaming around in that. She said that she was roaming around in the lane again and again because she had to visit the goldsmith's shop. Now the goldsmith is someone who makes ornaments out of gold. Now as she was roaming around in this lane again and again, because she had to visit the goldsmith, and she had given him some gold to make jewelry, and this man was a very dishonest person. She calls him a scoundrel or a dishonest person, and he always made excuse for not making her ornaments on time. And therefore, he kept asking her to come again and again, come after some time. Now, due to this, what happened? She had to go to this goldsmith's house at least a dozen times, and therefore, the dancing girl said that it was not her fault but the goldsmith's fault. Poor thing, she is absolutely right, thought the king, weighing the evidence. We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. The king's bailiff searched for the goldsmith who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. So, the king feels that now the poor dancing girl was also totally right, and he thought a lot, and he finally said that now they knew who the real culprit was. Therefore, he ordered the goldsmith to be brought, and he asked the king's bailiff. Bailiff is a law officer who makes sure that the decisions of the court is obeyed. So, the king's bailiff, they go search for the goldsmith and they bring him to the court. Now, the goldsmith was actually hiding inside his shop because he was feared that he would be arrested. And when he was brought in front of the king, he told his side of the story. He had his own story to say. My lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. It's true I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewellery before I finished the rich merchant's orders. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. So the goldsmith says that, the dancing girl was right, and he had made many excuses, and he had made her visit his shop again and again because it was not his fault, as he had an order from a rich merchant, and the merchant was having a wedding at their place, and they were in a hurry to get the order, and therefore the dancing girl's work was getting delayed. Who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewellery? Made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him? Can you name him? So the king asked the goldsmith to name the rich merchant. The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king, back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying, It wasn't me but my father who ordered the jewellery. He is dead. I am innocent. So the goldsmith said that it was the same merchant whose house wall had fallen down. So it's like, the justice had come in full circle. So the story ended at the same person from whom it had started. And the thief had died under the wall of the same merchant whose jewellery the goldsmith was making. So once again the merchant was called, and he came crying, and he said that, it was not he who had ordered the jewellery, but it was his father, and his father was dead, and it was not his fault. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively, It's true your father is true murderer. He is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die. So the king consulted with his minister, and he gave the decision that the merchant's father was the murderer, and the thief had died because of him. And since the merchant's father was not alive and someone had to be punished for the crime, the king said that the merchant's son, who had inherited everything from his father, will have to take up the punishment for the father's wrongdoing. And he also added that when he had seen the merchant for the first time, at the same moment he felt that it was the merchant who was a culprit, and therefore the king announces that the merchant will have to die. And he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. As the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Now, the king, had given the order to make a new stake. Now, stake is a post with a very sharp pointed end used to peer through something. Okay, and execution means it's the official killing of someone. And also he says, he asks, when this new weapon was getting ready, the minister felt that the rich merchant was quite thin or too thin to be properly executed at the stake. Okay, impaling of the criminal. Impaling means to push a sharp pointed post through something. Okay, so the minister felt that the merchant was too thin and cannot be executed in this way. So he told the king, and the king was also worried. What shall we do? He said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. So the king suddenly had an idea that they should catch hold of a man who was fat enough to be executed with the stake, and therefore the merchant would not be put to death because he was too thin to be executed with a stake. They thought of punishing another person instead of the merchant, and another person who was fat enough to be executed with a stake. Finally, the king sent his servants around the kingdom to look for a man who was fat enough to be executed with the stake, and they found the guru's disciple who had become very fat because of overeating, and he had fattened himself with bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. Okay, so we'll stop with this for part 2. Thank you, children.